It can be so hard just to get started on something, especially when you're faced with a to-do list that has a million things and everything just seems so huge. So today I want to talk about something that might seem a little counterintuitive, which is that when you've got a lot to do on your to-do list that you don't want to do, sometimes adding more can make it easier to get going. I want to share with you some of the tips and tricks I use to break down tasks and when you might actually not want to. This idea can be really helpful if you have a really packed day and you're trying to get things done, maybe around appointments or someone else's schedule, or you're trying to fit things in here and there and you only have a few minutes at a time. It's also really useful if you're dealing with energy issues, fatigue. I dealt with fatigue for months, and sometimes 2 or 3 minutes at a time was all I could manage. So here's how it works. I like to think of it as slowly expanding your focus. So when I typically do longer term planning, I'm not very structured about it. I don't do quarterly planning or even monthly planning, and usually don't even do weekly planning as a sort of official process. But when I'm looking ahead at what I might need to do in the next few days, I'm not going to break it down at that point. At that point, the task is big. So the example I'll give is here, changing the sheets. Now, a few days out, this might be on my to-do list as change sheets. Simple as that. But when I get to the actual day and I'm doing my daily planning, that's when I need to start breaking things down. Because what I realized after weeks of failing to keep up a habit of changing the sheets on a regular basis, I found that it felt bigger because I wasn't factoring in the other things that were involved in changing sheets. Because it's not just change sheets, done, end of story. No, there's more to it than that, because it's changing the sheets and it's washing the sheets that I just took off the bed. It's adding the new ones and putting the old ones away. So what I thought was a short task was actually taking the good part of a day. Then I start the process and I have it just kind of hanging out there on my to-do list until it's done. So it makes it hard to plan other things around it. So what I started doing was putting it on my to-do list as change sheets, wash sheets. So now when I finish the change sheets phase, changing the sheets on the bed, I can move into the wash sheets phase and I can cross off change sheets on my list. Now, this breaking it down is helpful for things that aren't so challenging to get to, but you realize that they're a little more involved than just the thing that you initially thought. Where breaking things down becomes really helpful is on those days when you can't get out of bed and you need everything broken down into the smallest increment. Or the days when, like I said earlier, you're trying to fit things into a packed schedule. I've actually found this to be really helpful when I need to pace myself. I have migraines, and there are times when I need to kind of keep my activity to a sort of a low level to avoid triggering a bad migraine. And so what I'll do is I'll break things into really small chunks, and then I kind of reward myself after each chunk by watching a YouTube video or reading a chapter in my book, relaxing, doing something fun. And this can be a great way to get around procrastination. If you're really struggling to get going and you know you should do something, you don't want to get going on it, maybe find the first couple minutes that you can do and then give yourself a reward after that. So at this level, I've broken this down into the smallest chunks. Now I have some of the chunks here on the screen, so you can see it involves taking the sheets off, asking my kids to help and take their sheets off, getting them into the washer, moving them to the dryer, do all those steps like that. But there are times when I break it down even further, and so I'll strip the bed as one step, and then I'll do as a second step, I will put the fitted sheet on. And then a third step is to put the top sheet on, and I'm resting in between each step. There are days when this is necessary. Do I break every task down into this level of detail? No, absolutely not. And that kind of gets to my final point, which is this is not useful for every task on your list. You can reach a certain point if you add a ton of tasks to your list that it looks like too much and you get overwhelmed with just the volume of things. So I kind of use this sparingly, But I think it's really great when you recognize that you're resisting a task because it seems too hard or too big. That's the key. Is this task too big? Let me make it smaller. I hope this tip has been helpful. Let me know in the comments if you do something like this or if you do something completely different. Maybe you break down all of your tasks all the time. I'd love to hear about it, and I'll see you in the next video.